Hi, it's Gab and Dad back with a review of a smaller independent film made the rounds of the film festivals recently, including TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival, to acclaim, comes out soon, called The Sessions.
When does it come out?
A couple weeks, mid-October, late October. But we just saw it. Haha. So what's it about?
Well, the basic story is quite simple, really. It's a story of a man, and by the way, it's based on a true story. It's the story of a man who, in his childhood, contracted polio and is more or less completely paralyzed. Not quite completely paralyzed, but more or less completely paralyzed, and spends, therefore, most of his time in an iron lung. And it's the story of this man's discovery in his mid or late 30s of his sexuality with the help of a sex surrogate or therapist. As somebody said, it's the only movie this fall about a man with polio having sex.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if that's what you're looking for, this is the movie you have to see. And it's obviously a drama. It's autobiographical and it's a drama, or it's biographical, but it's also got some great humor in it.
Yes.
Got a lot of heart and some humor. Yeah. It's treated as lightly as that subject probably can be. That subject matter can be.
Although the man who had polio uses humor really to cover up.
As a survival mechanism.
As a survival mechanism to deal with what is obviously an extraordinarily difficult situation.
Yeah, it's humor and lightheartedness and upliftedness based in a very difficult, challenging, deep emotional story.
Yes.
So it's about this man, as you say, he's and it's played by John Hawkes, who is not disabled in real life, but his entire performances he is horizontal on a gurney or in an iron lung, and the surrogate is played by Helen Hunt, and they become quite emotionally involved as well as a part of this physical journey.
Yes, they
and there's a lot of his baggage, obviously, based on his family background and, of course, his physical condition and his plight that he's lived with for most of his life. So it's a lot going on. And how do you think that was handled with the story?
I thought it was handled exceptionally well. I thought a very good kind of tone was struck in the story. It's a serious story. In some ways it's a moving story, but there's also a lot of humor in it, as Gab said. The acting is excellent, absolutely excellent.
Superb. Very believable.
Superb. Totally believable.
Both parts.
Totally
Helen Hunt lays herself completely vulnerable here, and I'm talking about primarily nudity. She's nude a lot in this role, but it gives it an authenticity that it wouldn't have otherwise, where you're really invested in the scenes. I mean, they are sex scenes or sexual scenes, but it's not an erotic film. I mean, I saw it with Dad, and I wasn't that uncomfortable that I am sometimes when I see a movie with a sex scene when I'm with Dad. Because it's not clinical, because it's about him learning to get in touch with that side of adulthood and humanity, and yet it's not pornographic.
Is that your daughter making?
Sorry, yeah,
that's Rosie.
That's my daughter in the background.
It's not. I mean, what I liked about this film, I mean, it's all the things that so many modern films today are not. It's a real story, first of all. It's a story that is meaningful, that you can follow, you can understand. There's no time travel or anything like that. It's designed for adults. It's designed for grown-ups, people who are actually interested in some of the great themes of life and living.
Yeah.
But it's all presented in a kind of a gripping, sometimes humorous, and always, I think, moving way. It's an excellent film.
There's some very moving parts, and it's interesting to use the word gripping. I mean, I didn't know really much about this man's true story, so I didn't know where the story was going. There's a certain number of sessions, and then when the sessions end, you're like, oh, I want more sessions. And not because it's titillating, but because you want to see more of the character development and where their relationship, how it plays out. And so very intriguing on just a humane level. I really cared about the characters.
Yeah, there's also a lot of texture to this film. There's a lot of little subplots that kind of buttress the main story.
And small moments,
to give the whole film kind of a deep and rich texture, I think.
Yeah.
So the basic story, as I said to begin with, is relatively straightforward, but the film is not straightforward.
All the shadings, and they really stay with you. Yeah. I was thinking about it a lot afterwards. So are there any critiques that you have of this movie?
The only possible critique I would have, and it's more of a question mark than anything else, is whether or not, as you and I discussed earlier, it's been kind of Hollywoodized a little bit. It's been turned into a little bit more of a feel-good movie, a feel-good story than it really is. After all, here's a man who as a child was paralyzed, lived in an iron lung and died at the age of 49, after having led what by most people's standards would be pretty miserable existence.
Very struggling, mostly solitary existence.
Yes, so I mean, it's not a happy story by any means, and yet the film is, in some extent, a happy and uplifting film. So you wonder if it's been, Hollywoodized, made more palatable to the average audience than the real story actually was or is. But I'm willing to take it the way it's presented and say it's an excellent film.
We did a little bit of research afterwards out of curiosity, the more the backstory, and I think of course it is a Hollywood film, although a small indie film. I think that probably did play into it to a certain extent, but I would still give it the credit that
I would give
they handled it very well, and I would highly recommend this film to.
Yes, so would I. Highly recommend. It's not for everybody. As I say, it's for a thoughtful adult audience.
Not for Rosie.
not for Rosie.
Not
Hi,
yet.
Rosie.
Although I would recommend it to any mature
teenagers.
person.
Also,
yeah, because there's a lot to be said about what it means to connect emotionally, romantically, what it means to be human, to be in touch with your body. There's a lot of messages that I think are significant to the human condition and ultimately positive. So I would definitely recommend this film. And for the performances.
Helen Hunt in particular I thought was superb.
Both of them, yeah.
I never really realised what a good actress she is. She's great.
She's excellent.
So this film, in my opinion, deserves a very wide audience. Whether it will get it is another matter. And I give this film 4 1/4 Dads.
It's the same with me. I give it 4 1/4 Dads.
I don't think we've ever rated a film that I can recall quite that highly.
I think certainly this year that might be the best rated so far this year, and I hope to hear about this film during award season, as they say. But the sessions, seek it out. It's very interesting and entertaining and moving.
Yes.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.